going on, family? How is everybody doing? How is everybody doing? I hope everybody is having a wonderful time. I hope you are doing okay. I hope you are doing absolutely wonderful. It is what it is. We are where we are. So listen, fam. For those of you who don't know the book club or what's going on, I don't know where you've been, because it's coming up on the 24th. Let me see if I have it here. You absolutely have to be a part of the party. And you have to read the book club book. So it's Cass. But what's Bam, fill it in there, because I'm trying to figure out something. Something done went terribly wrong. Cass, what's her name? Isabella Wilkerson or whatever it is. I had the image and I lost it. And that thing just done messed me up. Boy, I tell you, can't even get through. How's everybody doing? Please hit that like button for me. If you have not hit the like button, please hit the like button for me. I would appreciate it. YouTube just takes all the wrong times. Figure out the wrong time to just sign me out. Like, oh, who told you to sign me out or something? I didn't ask you to do that. Now, what you doing? You're making all kind of mistakes. So anyway, fam, let's get right to it. Ain't nothing to it but to do it. I see they have already put, because of the headline, I guess, they have already put financial ads, whatever. Anyway, fam, let's get right down. Please, if you want to donate, go to donatebrown.com, hit that like button, hit that bell, hit subscribe. That's the most important thing you can do. If you have not subscribed, please go and subscribe. It is very important to go and subscribe. And today we have some things to talk about, the most important of which is cost. Now, we have talked on this show before about knowing how to count, but you have to count certain things, not just one thing. You have to count lineage. You have to count what that means in terms of your legacy. You have to count the cost of life, and not just life, regular life. We're talking about American life. American life is not life in a lot of other places. It's not life in Ecuador. It's not life in Kenya. It's not life we have to count the specific cost of American life. And if you don't know how to count, here in America, you will be befuddled. Absolutely 100% befuddled. And you won't know what's happening to you, and you might go crazy. It's just the truth. It's just the truth, family. I'm not lying to you. You might lose your wits if you don't understand. So let's talk about cost, right? Because once we add up the cost in our life, we'll understand some things. So I saw this article, because we're going to talk about two kinds of cost. Lineage and how that flows into, I like the frame thing. So we're going to talk about the cost of lineage and how that flows into the cost of your life and why you can't pay for your life. Most of us have lives we can't pay for, right? So let's talk about it. So I saw this article today. We are black women. Stop calling us women of color. And I said, oh, here we go. Now we're about to talk some sense. That's what I said to myself. I said, self, we are about to talk some sense. They done jumped on to what we've been talking about, and I got excited way too quick. So let me just show you a little bit about what they said, and we got to learn to be able to break down where everything went wrong, because everything went wrong, and we got to break it down. So let me just show you. Let's just start. We're going to start right here. The ongoing decennial census drives home the hollowness of the monochromatic big tent that describes everyone but no one. Micro-targeting and data are drawn from distinct racial and ethnic populations are vital to ensure that services and funding reach identifiable communities. This is why there is no people of color box among 19 categories, including some other race, on the 2020 census. How many households are headed by women, and who are those women? How many homeowners, small businesses and jobs are in a community? These questions are especially important for black women, who are disproportionately the breadwinners, healthcare deciders, entrepreneurs, single parents, and caregivers in their households. Identifying ourselves by specific ethnic racial group is a critical tool to achieve racial equity and economic parity. Do you see what they said? Now we're going to keep it moving. Let's just keep it pushing because they got some more things to say. We are black. The term is direct and invokes something visceral and difficult for those who are non-black to embrace or understand. In our lifetime, the more comfortable identifiers have morphed from colored to Negro, Afro-American to African-American. The explosion of multiculturalism created a rainbow. We are the world. Created a We Are the World rainbow. Through it all, we remained black. Not a label or color. Black is an experience. It is the glue of our unique legacy in this country. Let me stop you right there. Ladies and gentlemen, let me stop you right there where we at. This is where we begin to see there is a misunderstanding on the way. Black is not just an experience. In terms of, see, when you say experience, that invokes one lifetime. And so Emmanuel Acho or Idris Elba, all these people can say, I went to America and I had a black experience. Therefore, I'm like you. I had a racial experience. These were black experiences and I had them too. And we are the same. Here is the problem, ladies and gentlemen. Let's just focus on the problem, can we? Yeah, but no. Yes, but no. See, because black is not just, it's an inheritance. So you are inheriting a certain status, a certain position in the hierarchy. You're also not inheriting the wealth of your ancestors. You're inheriting the poverty, because if the wealth is still in the system, and it is, we see it all day, every day, then that means the poverty is still here. So that means that being black is more than black. It's being ADOS. And that is an inheritance. That is a multi-generational oppression. And we talk about, and we have to talk about, how that oppression expresses itself in everyday life. See, there are people in this country who are black, but it doesn't express itself. If you are Emmanuel Acho, I use him because it's a perfect example. And you went to, a rich high school and your father's a doctor. The way it expresses itself for you is different. That doesn't mean somebody might not pick you up for a cab like Obama. That doesn't mean you don't have racial incidents in your life. But how it expresses itself is different. So we're going down the wrong road if we want to see who we are or identify who we are as some kind of one lifetime lived experience. No. And it's expressed in our wealth. That is the expression. That's the biggest expression. That's the most profound and most consequential expression of who we are, is in the wealth that we lack and the origin story of that wealth. Why do we lack it? What is the story of that? That's a big deal. Now let me go on to let's go to the next quote really quickly. Hold on. Did I already get that one? Hold on one second. The ongoing descending. I think I got that one. Let me get this one real quick. Breadwinners, yes. And look at this. They use the word. Like, y'all gonna start crediting me with stuff. Kumbaya. That's my word. Kumbaya. This cannot be happen through multicultural kumbaya. Oh, listen, somebody owe me a check somewhere. Y'all can't keep doing this to me. You just keep stealing. So let me just go to something else really quickly, though. We don't want to spend no much time on the thieves. On the electoral front, imprecise labels dim the political spotlight that black women have earned over many election cycles. Now, here comes the stupid. It's coming right at you. I want to know if you can see it. The addition of Senator Kamala Harris to the Democratic ticket brings this issue of identity into sharp relief. Her multidimensional background does not undermine or erase who she is. She acknowledges and celebrates the Indian heritage, but she self-identifies as a black woman whose experience was shaped by her experience at a Howard University, a notable HBCU. So let me just say something, fam. Let me just say something. Rachel Dolezal also went to a HBCU. Even when I was at Howard University, there were white people there. Not a lot, not probably as many as there are now, but there were white people there. You cannot define. See what? Let me just slow this down. What's happening? What's happening is that there is some kind of push, some kind of impediment that we're dealing with, where we give our ADOS to somebody else, right? Kamala doesn't get to decide her identity. No. That's decided for her. She has a Jamaican father who was until recently a professor at Stanford. She had a Jamaican father who was recently. She had, rest in peace, her mother, who was a scientist, a cancer scientist, a biologist, or something like that, who was Indian. And you had relatively little interaction with that father. And that's supposed to be your black throwaway, right? That's your anchor into black that you had. So you were anchored and raised by the Indian mother. You don't get to go to a college and then reassign yourself as ADOS, because ADOS isn't your Jamaican father either. So, the way we have allowed people to kind of put on and take off identities. You don't get to put on new clothes, Kamala, just because you came and kikied and kakad and skiwee with the. You don't get to put on new clothes. Your identity is still your identity. Your undergraduate degree is your identity, and you weren't even here with us in America all the time. We don't talk about your time in Canada, but here in America, just like everywhere else, we're not all black the same. In America, blackness is something that chokes you out of life. You can't have nothing. Let's think about what we talked about. Redlining, mass incarceration, being cordoned off into the ghettos, not making as much, not being able to have mortgages, and having these awful little homes that we've had to live in because they decide, right, what houses they're going to finance. There was a great article I put in the newsletter, I think last week, that showed that, like, if you remove the black pictures from your home and all that stuff, just a black lived in home, don't nobody will, all kinds of stuff in America is very suffocating. But here's the kicker: in America, something else happens. Because of our freedom struggle, it's a 400-year-long freedom struggle. Who can say that but us? So it's suffocating in terms of how we live and how we have lived. But for you, it's the perfect political costume. See, right now, fam, we are at political costume party time. Everybody's putting on a political costume to look like ADOS because that's where the political capital is. But that's not who you are. And the women writing this article, I don't know what's wrong with y'all. Y'all got to be half crazy. She has put on a political costume just like Obama did. It's a costume. You don't have the lineage, the inheritance. You don't have any sharecroppers in your lineage. You don't have any people who work farms in your lineage. You don't have any white people that had babies with somebody in your family or raped somebody and ran off. You don't have none of that. But you come and you play dress up. And then you have people write articles and say it's okay to play dress up and pretend to be me. Because that's what being a black woman means. That's a problem. So let me go to the next part. Yes, she identifies as a black woman, HBCU, blah, 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 blah. It is the reason her identification with Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority, one of the Divine Nine national Greek letter organizations, because we're going to just get into it a little bit. Organization enshrined in Black campus experience. Blah, 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 blah. These are aspects of black identity that are unique with no context in the amorphous WOC universe. That was a sentence that didn't make much sense. As black women, we accept expressions celebrating WOC as the backbone of democratic change. Well, at this moment, you just undermined your whole argument. You said, we different, we black women, we run the game, we there, and we run the Democrats. And then you just came in and said, well, we accept women of color as the background. Like, let me just say this. You can't see yourself as Kamala. Kamala is a person who flew to India in the 70s. This before there were budget flights. She was likely spending what a black person made over 3 or 4 months, if not a year, in salary for a flight as a child. This person is not you. And you're undermining your own argument when you come back and say WOC as the backbone. As black women, we accept expressions celebrating WOC as the backbone of democratic change. And yet, data, election returns across the nation reveal, well, why were you, if the election results reveal that, why are you accepting WOC as the backbone? See, let me just come out of here. Let me say something. You people who write these articles, who you want to say, well, we accept WOC as the backbone, no, but we have done all this. Say what you mean. Say it with your whole chest. Well, what are they supposed to say with their whole chest, Yvette? I'm going to tell you what. They're supposed to say, listen, white women, Latino women, all you other women, you have not done as much as us in the Democratic Party, so you do not deserve as much as us. Don't just hit at black men. That's what we like to do. Well, black men are the white people of the Why you holding your punches though? Wait a minute. Black men are right there with us in terms of voting overwhelmingly Democratic. Vote more Democratic than everybody else, from white folk to Latinos to all of them. Why are you holding your fire, boo boo? You don't ever. I want to see an article where some woman, some ADOS woman comes out and says, you know what? You white women, you Latino women, y'all don't deserve as much as us because we are the backbone of the Democratic Party. Say it to them. Simone Sanders, you got a lot of stuff in your chest. You say, you feel free. I don't know why, Luke. Who asked black men to talk? You don't say that nobody else. Are you tough or not? Like if you feeling froggy, you might as well jump. How you said to everybody else that she came out this week, we have Simone Sanders, we have some work to do with Latino voters. Yeah, I guess you do, because they didn't even show up for your rally. They can do whatever they want to do. But we get shamed. How are you not showing up for Biden? You're going to let Trump do this and you're going to... Shut up, Simone. If somebody ain't ever told you to shut up, I'm telling you, I offer it up freely. Because don't nobody want to take on the real fight. The real fight between ADOS is not with ADOS men, or not even with, that's not the fight. The fight is with women. Of all these other little groups that just get to vote how they want to vote while you be the backbone of the Democratic Party. And I say you because I'm not voting for Biden this time around. Democratic down ballot for me. Nah, it can't just be no intra fight amongst black women and black men. Nah, we're not doing that no more. Ain't nobody falling for the banana in the tailpipe no more. You go fight her. Well, we still accept women of color as, whatever. Breaking down barriers across races, ethnicities, and cultures is transformative. Is it? Our individual and collective experiences can bridge seemingly intractable divides. It's written like a fiction book. That is a wonderful goal, but the experiences of black people or any racially oppressed people should not be subverted or erased in a quest for an idealized but elusive rainbow. But that's what you just did in this article. What you did in this article was the rainbowizing of politics. Well, we don't want to say nothing. We don't want to say nothing. But you don't want to say nothing. But we is important, Miss Ma'am. We black, but we accept you, women of color, as the backbone. But we need to be understood. Please. Can I have some soup? No, that's not how we understand ourselves. Let's go back to it. The 100-year penalty for being black. Nobody said the 1 lifetime penalty. Nobody said the 10-year penalty. The 100-year penalty for being black. Let's go back to some of these articles, since some people have forgotten. Since some people like to watch a video and lift one thing and leave the other thing unsaid. Let's go back to it for un momento. And I mean that not in jest. Let's just read something really quick. Bloomberg bought this whole paper. City Lab, he bought this whole thing. He just said, I'm going to buy it. It's just like, I want it. In the paper, Collins and Wanamaker set out to understand the mechanisms that drive a wedge between the income of blacks and whites from one generation to the next. Their big finding was this. Between 1880 and 2010, whites showed much higher rates of upward mobility than blacks, even if their parents started from the same economic position. There is a specific penalty for black people which is independent of whatever income their fathers earn, Wanamaker tells City Lab. And that has been constant for over 100 years. This is not about your particular experience. This is not about your lived experience. It's not about who you are today. I don't know why we keep trying to make it that way. Just read it again for me if you don't believe me what I'm saying. That's a penalty. For what, Yvette? For being black. And see, this goes to show, honestly, part of the problem. But the other part of the problem is when you look at this, how did race and gender and class and education influence the election? You see, just take a look. Black men, black women, you see in the blue, overwhelmingly 80 and 94. Ahead of white men and white women. Like, look at Latinos down here. Latino women is 68% for Clinton. 26% for Trump. No, you got to talk directly to them. You got to talk to them because, listen, when you talk about the 100-year penalty for being black, you have to understand that Kamala's family wasn't here. You can't say, well, she's black too. She wasn't here. She didn't inherit the cost. And look at this chart. Everybody got to start talking straight. We can't win if nobody wants to talk straight about what this chart means. You can't do it. If everybody want to talk about how Kamala's sister girl, we can't talk straight. And there's another part about it. That's the count of lineage. See, when you look at that article, what that article tells you is that we are not counting lineage right. Lineage is not lived experience, but there's a lot of stuff that we can't count, apparently. Right? Lineage is only one thing that we gotta stop fumbling this. You can't do this article. See, everybody thinks they can do this kind of article and go around me and Antonio. No, the whole thing is us. You can't do the kumbaya and say we can't be kumbaya, but then include Kamala. Kamala is a manifestation of the kumbaya. It don't work that way. You tried to be me, but you ain't. You tried to be Antonio, but you ain't. You got to come through us. Because what you're doing is using your ADOSness to kind of bless her, and it won't work. It never will. You can try, but it's a fool's errand, and you should jump off that boat, Billy Goat. That ain't gonna work. It doesn't work. It doesn't work to kind of say we have a problem with multiculturalism, but we love Kamala. We don't want everybody to be called black, but Kamala's black. Yeah, she black, but she's not ADOS. There's another case to be made that we're making, and you miss it, and you're trying to circumvent it, and it don't work. It's never gonna work. It's always gonna fail. So let me just say this. Let me just go to something else really quick, because I'm talking about the cost, and there are a lot of costs that are kind of problematic. And I said, Antonio and I have done a bunch of videos about how people can't count, and he put up a video today, and I said, you know what? I have to include this a tweet. Because this person cannot count. And I don't mean no shade to this young brother. I don't know his background. I don't know ADOS or not. I don't know. I think he said he was raised in Baltimore, but this doesn't make any sense. And in order for your life to make sense to you in terms of how you interpret it, you have to be able to count. So let me just say, this 23-year-old Uber driver earns $25,000 a year, but he has everything. He has, and I quote, everything I could want right now. I just saw that and I said, you know what? I have to deal with this tonight. I'm making $25K a year and I have everything that I could want. So let's go through this a little bit. And no shade to the brother, but we have to talk about it. This is how he grew up. He talks about how he grew up. Let me bring this down a little bit. If the water got turned off, it's only temporary, he said. And a lot of us, a lot of people grew up that way. I'm very careful. I only had stuff got turned off a couple of times. But my parents were lucky enough to grow up during an era where they could both be factory workers, right? And so they went to work every day and they got paid every week and wasn't no layoffs and all this instability going on. So he says his water gets turned off. It's only temporary. He has to sleep on his brother's couch because he can't afford an apartment. It's an opportunity to start a savings account. So just understand everything this brother sees is an opportunity. Sounds a little bit like boys. I understand. And I'm not you young, brother. I understand. But let me teach you. So let's go into it. That's what he says. And that's his life. That's the young brother. I can't remember his name. But let's just go into a little bit of his story and we're going to come out and talk about it. Today, the 23-year-old who lives just outside of Baltimore spends part of the year working in a tax preparation office and the rest driving for Uber and Lyft. He expects to earn $25,000 in total in 2020 before taxes. Before taxes. Make sure you hear that. But he's not stressed out. He's not stressed about his low salary. He spends his free time investing. Pay attention to that. Studying money, business, and science, and planning his next move. His last name is, I think it's Jerome Gillespie. The value of money. Growing up, Gillespie's family faced a fair share of financial challenges. He remembers getting, like he said, the lights turned off. Still, they managed to get by. If the water was getting turned off, everything was temporary, right? The bathtub. Wait a minute. What about bathtub? If the water was getting turned off, they fill up the bathtub and make it last. To Gillespie, these incidents were just things that happened every once in a while. It didn't really bother me because I knew that the lights were going to be coming back on sometime soon. All right. Now, let me just say something. Well, let me read this first. Hold on a second. Let me read this first. I might read this first. As a result of the hard times, he learned to be careful with his money from a young age. Although his family didn't openly discuss finances, his mother emphasized the importance of maintaining a good credit score and showed him the value of interest early. If she borrowed $10 from Gillespie, he knew he would expect 12 to 15 in return, depending on how long it took her to pay back. Let me just say one thing before I go on. I'm going to go on because I have to compare two things. Part of the problem here is that you hear him say it doesn't matter because it's temporary. Remember a long time ago, those of you who have been watching the show for a while, I had a conversation with y'all about Millionaire Road and how everybody thinks about, I don't matter because I ain't going to be here long. It don't matter if I ain't got nothing. He's 23. I kind of understand it, but I want to shake him. No, this is your life. This ain't something that's just going to happen. This is your life. You was in school. He was in school. I don't know. I don't know if I saved that. He was in school and he left as a 5th-year senior because he said, I don't know. That didn't make sense to me either. Sometimes you got to understand when you ain't got the paperwork. Because he said, I'm a 5th-year senior, but I didn't want to take too many more loans. You a 5th-year senior. What kind of loans thought you was going to have to keep taking when you dropped out? So sometimes you smell stuff that don't smell right. There's no paperwork. He said he was investing and he paid. Ain't no paperwork. I need to see paperwork. I don't trust nothing nobody say no more. So let me just pull this up too. Gillespie started college in 2014. He struggled to afford both food and textbooks, frequently skipping meals, eventually eating once a day. This is a grown man. Eventually eating once a day just became a habit. So it wasn't something that I really thought about that much. It was just one of those things that I did, he says. To this day, I still have a habit of sometimes eating once a day. They're trying to get us comfortable with food scarcity. When I was in 8th grade, I was diagnosed with a heart condition. That was potentially deadly. The doctor said if you exercise hard, real hard, you could die at any moment. That's what they told him. Now, at the time, At the time, Gillespie didn't want to change his lifestyle. He continued to exercise and play sports, taking the doctor's warnings as a prognosis. I never really thought that I would make it past high school, he says. So he considers himself a dead man walking. But he did. I was kind of in shock because I never really thought about what I wanted to do after high school, he said. I kind of just went to college empty-handed. He could earn more if he spent more time driving the Uber, but he chooses instead to focus on learning about investing, tax preparation, and other skills that he hopes will help him build wealth in the future. He also works on his YouTube channel, Moneyology, where he shares personal finance advice based on his own experience. He's earned some profit from affiliate links, but he hasn't otherwise monetized his channel yet. One of the reasons why my income is so low, I spend a lot of time just reading. I could be out there working, but I spend a lot of time reading books, tax books, reading investment books, and all of that kind of stuff. Now let me tell you something. Let me go into something else. Hold on a second. So let me put in some of the images. Here he is. Let's give you some context. 2019 was Lyft. He reads all these investment because he makes $14 an hour at some kind of tax place or whatever. So he makes that, and he pays $823 a month in rent, electricity, and Wi-Fi, right? So let's just get some context about who the man is and the young man is, and I hope he understands some things, right? Now listen, if you making 25K, I just want everybody, you making 25K a year. If you go, I'm trying to find a clip where he said he invests like 10K a year. See, some people just be talking. Ain't no way. I need to see some paperwork. I'm trying to find that clip where he said it. Also, let me just bring this up. When you look at 25K a year, when you look at what the semi-weekly take-home is, that's $865. I don't care if you ain't. Listen. I don't care. The semi-monthly take-home is I don't care if you even ain't still but eating but one meal a day. That's not enough for you to be doing what you told me you're doing. Let me see. What is this? He said he got a bunch of money invested in Robinhood. I'm just trying to go through the man's money now. $13,000. He said he recently withdrew $8,000 to put towards his student loans. Okay. Let's keep it. Let's keep count. Let's try to keep count. Let me see where I wrote that down at. There's a lot of stuff going on here because I'm gonna put something up for y'all. And I want you to answer me a question in 1 second. So you're getting like $865 every 2 weeks. That's not a lot of money. But you still managed to do that. Now, I want to put up something really quickly. I want y'all to pay attention. Where'd it go? Where'd I go that quick? Oh, there it goes. Now, here's his budget. Now, I want y'all to look at that. And I'm going to look at the chat. And I want y'all to tell me what's missing from this budget based on this man's biography that should be in this budget. Please tell me. I want you to look. You see subscriptions. You see transportation, gym. Throw that gym away, sir. Go running. I want you to, you see books. You see miscellaneous. You see phone. You see food. You see housing at 823. Tell me what is, now we know you're not depreciating the car, but tell me whatever is missing from that budget, please. Yes, arena investments are definitely missing, but there's something else. This man told us he had a heart condition. What is missing from this budget? Medical. Thank you. Thank you. How are you doing okay, sir? You have a heart condition and there is no money for medical care in your budget? You're not doing okay. If you fall slap out right there, listen, medical bills alone will kill you. You can't even get to the hospital. Like I go running. I make sure my medical card is visible and ready. You don't have no medical. You have no savings. I ain't see no student loans. It's a lot missing from the budget. But the biggest thing that occurred to me, let me bring this budget back up because this budget is some bull. The biggest thing to me that was missing from the budget was your medical care. How are you okay with a heart condition where the doctor told you might fall out and there's no medical care in there? You say you invest like $10,000 a year. Ain't no investments nowhere in there. That's why I don't believe you. That's why I think people lie. Everybody wants to tell a tale. You trying to do this for your YouTube. Allegedly. I'm just saying this math don't work. This math don't work. You can't survive on that and we can't count. You're not counting the depreciation on your car. You're saying you have everything you need. Sir, you have a heart condition that the doctor told you might make you fall slap out and die. Now, what if you don't die? You got to go to the hospital. You should be somebody who's having regular checkups because you have a heart condition. This is what happens when you can't count. When you can't count, you feel a certain way, and I'm on my way. Oh, wait a minute. Let me see if I saw it. Hold on. Let me see if I can find it. Oh, Lord, I got to find this. Yes, Lord. Here, look. You see what I found now? Hold on. He might not have no health care, but he got a dream board. He got a dream board. He got his dreams all up on the wall. You don't need nothing when you got a dream board. Then he says there's a video that goes with this. The video is up on Antonio's page. I think he also says that he's like 30K in net worth. I mean, he says 10K. He said I'm 10K in net worth. But he didn't count the 30K in student debt. So, sir, no, you're not. No, you're not. Some things don't make no sense. So if you invested 10K, which is what you said in the thing, then that means you live off 15K a year, sir. And let's just bring out of context. So in context, let's just bring something else up, right? Because everything is best understood in context. Let me see. I didn't even look at the board. What's on this board? Hold on. Let me put this up one more time because I didn't even pay attention to the board. What's all on this board? Let me make this a little bit bigger. This is gonna be an interesting little board. Consumer debt. Let me make this bigger. What you talking about? Business debt. No being over. What that say? Leverage. Income to interest. Generally speaking, credit cards. Child, if you don't stop it. Stop it right now. The credit cards are credit because you don't have money. That's what credit cards are. You don't have money, so America gets you in debt. You're not okay. You're not okay. I don't care who told you you're in debt. I mean that you're okay. You are not okay. America done drove us crazy. We just say anything. I don't eat but once a day. Sometime now. I still don't eat but once a day. I don't even be hungry no more. I don't even need calories. For what? They say you need so many calories a day, but I don't even think I be needing that many calories. I can just, sometimes I think I eat my air. If y'all don't hush. After taxes, sir, you make around $19,000. And you're going to tell me that you invest 10. So you have around 833 a month. So let me bring your budget back up again. Really, you have about really you have about 833, but you say you spend 1,200. It ain't making no sense. Your Jerome. 19,000 net after taxes. So what? You invest like 10, you live on like 9. Your budget don't make sense. And you're not okay. But let's just compare this real quick to something else. Let's compare this really, really quickly to another budget. Now, this page does something that did something with a white person. The budget breakdown of a 25-year-old who makes $100,000 a year and is excellent with money. We're going to compare this with the 23-year-old who's the Uber driver who makes $25K. We're going to just put these side by side and we're going to look at their budgets and see what we see. Now, let's just give the context of these two people, not just the money, right? Not just the money. We gotta break it all the way down. So, this is Trevor Klee. He admits he's a terrible employee, but he's great at working for himself. So the 25-year-old entrepreneur started a thriving business of his own. I think he went to Princeton. As a test prep instructor in Cambridge, Massachusetts, he brings in $100,000 a year tutoring people for the GMAT, GRE, and LSAT. It's one of those kinds of weird skills that turned out to be really monetizable. He first started, like I said, at tutoring as a student at Princeton University, where he discovered that he could turn blah, 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 blah. We know what that is. We know what that is. Sir, we know what that is. So, striking out on his own, he paid off. Striking out on his own has paid off for Klee, who earned around $90,000 in 2017 and is on the pace to earn $100,000 in 2018. Understand the social capital also of being able to be around people who need GRE and GMAT testing. That's social capital that we don't have, right? But he wasn't immediately successful during his early days in Cambridge. He crashed on his brother's pull-out couch because he couldn't afford his own place. Same thing happened with Jerome, if you read the article. So here's what his numbers look like. Let's break them down really quick. More than 3 years later, his monthly income ranges from between $3,000 to $4,000 up to $14,000 during busy periods. He charges $106 per hour for GMAT tutoring and $125 per hour for LSAT or GRE help, and he requires a minimum of 10 hours. He also started consulting for other tutors on the side, for which he charged a flat fee or a percentage of the revenue generated. Smart, sir. Very smart. Now, I want to bring up for you his budget. I want you to tell me if you see one thing that's very similar to the young black man named Jerome that we just saw. Tell me one thing that's very, very, very similar in terms of what they pay. One makes 100, 80 to 100, or whatever it was. The other one makes 25. Something on there is very similar, and it makes you think. What is similar, ladies and gentlemen? What is similar? Tell me, ladies and gentlemen, which one of these things is not like the other? Right? Something ain't like the other thing. And so when that happens, you have to figure out which thing ain't like the other thing. Oh, let me get this back up. somebody said it. Rent and housing. Oh, somebody's on point. Rent and housing. Sir, how are you paying the same thing as this little white man who's making 100? You are paying the same. So you as a little Negro are paying 60-something% of your income, if not more, in housing. You're paying the same thing as the white man. How? The white man lives with like 4 roommates. The white man has health insurance. He don't. The little man, the little black man with the black man with the health condition don't have no insurance. How y'all paying the same thing for rent, Jerome? I saw. So let me tell you about the white guy's rent. Let me tell you the logic behind his rent as well. Rent 825. Clee lives in a shared house with 4 roommates and 1 dog. Although he says he could technically afford a studio apartment, which would go for roughly $1,400 to $2,000 a month in Cambridge, he prefers to save and invest extra cash instead. Jerome, you spending too much on your house, your apartment that you share with your friend or whoever. You see, here the budgets are side by side. Jerome is not okay. He's overburdened with credit card debt and stress and all kinds of stuff. He's not okay. But because we can't count, Jerome thinks he's okay. He's not okay. Jerome is on the verge of homelessness, but he don't know that. He don't know that he's not okay. Jerome has his own phone. The white guy is still on his family plan. But remember what I told y'all last week about cultural pressure? A black person will tell you, man, you still on your mama phone or your mom. You got to get your own. You better stay on that plan if it's cost effective. If that plan is good and it's cost effective for you, you better stay on there. You better take every advantage affordable to you. Well, I'm gonna go pay $100. It's gonna be $105 a month, but I ain't gonna be on my own plan. You better shut up and just dial a phone. What you need? These budgets don't make no sense. This budget don't make no sense. Let me just say something. Let me pull these budgets up. Let me pull these budgets up real quick one more time. Look at Clee. What is his name? Clee. I ain't never heard nobody named Clee. Like, one of these budgets is nothing but housing. Like understand something. Let me bring this budget up big. This budget is nothing but housing. If more than half your budget is housing, you need new housing, or you just can't afford housing. It is what it is. Ain't nothing nobody can do. You can't afford housing. You don't get to tell CNBC or whoever it was, I'm all right. No, you're not. You got one little pleather sofa in there, you and whoever live up in there, and you paying too much. You can't afford it. You're not okay. Life will be so much easier if I could convince more people that they're not okay. No, I'm good. No, you're not. Look at the little white man's budget. He got everything in here. Look at his rent. It's like a little bit more than a fourth, right? And he got all this other little stuff in here. He got a little grocery. Take his little girlfriend out. Donation. He got dining out. He got utilities, transportation. He got a little car to use to go to the bus. He got his little cell phone or whatever, $40 from his mom and them. They have a house cleaner to come over, I suppose. And he making 100 or whatever, 80 to 100, whatever. And he's better than you. I mean, y'all paying the same rent. You can't count. You can't count. You don't know where you live. You don't know how you spending. And he makes $15 an hour, 14 at this little tax prep place. So he reads all this book about tax prep, but then he dropped out of school as a 5th-year senior. Why do you just didn't get your accounting degree then? I don't even understand what is happening with us. Are we okay? And shout out to whoever this little hussy was that interviewed him. You just interview him to make him jokes for white people. That's ridiculous. Don't interview. Leave us alone. Or just tell us the truth when you listen. I want to do this interview, but I'm not. It's just gonna be jokes for us, so I'm not gonna do it. And I'm gonna tell you what's wrong with it. Don't just have this man up here looking like this, like he crazy. Don't make no sense. Let me pull up the budget one more time. Let me just, and then I'm gonna go to break, fam. But let me just hold on. What a thing I had with both of the budgets. Jesus Christ, that don't make no sense. Y'all gotta call in about these budgets. Cause look, hold on. Jerome just got, what he got? Jerome doesn't itemize his food. But he say he don't eat out. He say he don't eat out though. He say, I don't even know. Like, listen, let me just, I'm not trying to laugh, but this budget don't make no sense. Let me bring it up a little bit bigger. What is his food at on here? Food 200. He doesn't itemize it out, but he say he don't eat out much. So you telling me $50 a week, Jerome? What are you eating as an adult person for $50 a week? I don't believe none of this, and I don't think you're okay. You're not okay. Let me ask you this, Jerome. I'm looking at your budget. You say you don't drive much for Uber no more, but you drive. Where is the gas? Where is the gas money for the Uber? You say you don't do it as much as you used to. You put most of your time into the tax business, but you still be driving sometimes. Where is the gas? I'm just trying to figure things out. I don't mean no disrespect. Where's the gas? There's a lot of stuff going on here that don't make no sense necessarily to me. And when I see stuff that don't make no sense, it means you can't count. And when you can't count, that's the reason why you think stuff is okay when it's not okay. You think stuff is okay when it's not okay because you cannot count. Where is your servicing for your car? Did you take it in for a brake check or for any kind of maintenance, Jerome? What did you do for the vehicle? Depreciation, Jerome. What did you do? Like, there is so much here. You are not okay. And I'm just going to say before I go to break, listen. There's no way for us to understand what we're missing in terms of American if you don't understand that you're not okay. And understand that you're not okay means being able to count. You have to be able to count. You have to be able to count in terms of lineage, which was the first article, and the cost of lineage and the legacy and how that's baked into the failure in your community. And you can't give it to Kamala, but you have to be able to count and say that $25K is not enough to live on. Especially with Uber and everything that comes with that. And especially when I got a heart condition, and especially I'm in America. I'm not sending money back home nowhere. I'm here. This is a problem. And so I'm going to go to break really quick because we're at that time. I will come back and we will have the conversation. What's up, fam? We are back. And to the person who said Jerome got a rickshaw, that was funny. You ain't right, but that was funny. But to the person who said we got to live below our means, Jerome was eating 1 meal a day. He can't live no further below his means. All you Great Depression babies, y'all crazy. What you want him to do? He can't live no far below his means than he was. He had on some little regular shoes, might have been kids, little t-shirt from Target. How far y'all want people to live below their means? You want them to go around in potato sacks? How far? Hey, listen, this is America. America requires wealth. I need all you Great Depression babies to understand that. This ain't the same America. You can't go around. This ain't Ireland where you can eat potatoes and be a potato head. And you have to have the monies and the wealth. That's what goes with it. Not just like, well, I'm just going to eat soup all week. I'm going to eat beans and brown rice. Shut up. Anyway, let me go to the calls, everybody. Let me go to the calls really quick. I am going to 217. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind? You there, 217? 217. Let me see if I can get it. 217. The internet must be doing something. Like, what do my people say? The internet must be doing something. Hold on. It's right here. Okay, take that off. All right, let's try this again. Let's try this one more time. Seems like it's doing something. It's messing up. I do tell you. Let me see if it'll do with somebody else. I don't know why it's doing it. So interesting. Technology is a very interesting thing, fam. Did you know that? Let me see. All right, 217. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, Yvette. This is Cynthia calling from Chicago. How are you?
Pretty good. How about yourself?
I am doing well. Thank you for taking my phone call. So I wanted to comment on the young man that you were talking about that drives for Lyft and Uber, who does it part-time now.
Okay.
So I actually, a couple years ago, I'm going to say in 2017, I drove for Lyft and I drove for Uber.
Okay.
And I was a full-time job.
Oh. Woo.
And, yeah. When I did my taxes the following year, I discovered that I made, with my full-time job, driving Lyft and driving Uber, only $40,000 in total for the entire year. And the main reason why I wanted to drive for Lyft and Uber, well, I didn't really want to do it, but I decided to pick up the gig is because I wanted to do something, normal, like go on vacation. And my regular job wasn't really allowing me to really do that. So when I picked up the gig, I realized that I was still spending a lot of time at work, just spending a lot of time on the road, driving every weekend and also after work, and I still wasn't making no money.
Let me just say something, now, fam. Let me just say something. I'm gonna let you finish, fam. But I think you have to. I think you have to do the math on even. Like, I hear people say this. Like, I had a Lyft driver one time, right? Who told me I'm driving because I want to go on vacation. And I think you have to do the math too, right? Of how many hours you have to drive to go on vacation. And what you have to go through to go on vacation. And so what you realize is that I'm put in a position as a descendant of the people who built this country that I can't even go and rest somewhere for a few days because I'm not in that stature. I'm in this bottom caste stature where, like, I see people who go out to, like, eat and they drive Uber. And I'm just like, so you worked, let's see, how much you make. So you worked like 2 hours to come here and do all this. So it's just, but go on, family. I'm sorry. Keep going. I'm sorry. So it wasn't 40K.
But to your point, that's what I was trying to get at. Like, I ended up still having to do all this extra work just to do something that is normal, like go on vacation, like eat out, like, stuff that, regular Americans should be able to do.
Yes.
But my one job was not able to cover that. And even if you look at, like, what you need in income just for you to live normal, even in like a big city like Chicago, even $40,000 for individuals not enough. It's just not.
No,
it's just
no,
not.
no.
And especially when you have to look at all the other expenses that you have to, like your rent, your food, all your utilities, and then even like your other stuff, like I'm still paying off student loans, right?
Yeah.
So all those things you have to consider when you're doing stuff like this. And then even like when you were talking about all those hours that you have to put in after your gig in order to do that. I ended up having to stop, and thank goodness I have another job now that I'm making a little bit more. But I had to spend at least about, I think that I was working close to 80 hours a week.
Ooh.
Just, yeah.
And see, what that means is that you had no quality of life.
It was just too much. And I was just like, you know what, there's no way. Because I feel like I'm personally, like, running a rat race and even doing something physically to myself that's not really good for my health in order for me just to do something that's normal, and it makes no sense.
Yeah, to live an American life, you have to do all of that. To live an American life, you got to work 80 hours a week and do all that, and you can't send no money back home because this is home. So to do all that, to live an American life, that's what you have to do. Did you count, like, when you counted the 40K, like, you say you didn't even make 40K, did you count, like, vehicle depreciation? Or anything like that? Like when you were taking that out?
So, I was taking advantage of Uber's program at the time to rent a car. So, and at that particular time, and I think this is also a motivating factor for me to stop, is that they had a system where you could rent a car from them. It was like around $200 and some odd a week. But if you made so many trips a month, they would give you that money back. But then they ended up stopping that program.
Okay.
So it made no sense. And then by the time that I figured out working a full-time job and still working all the hours in order for me to even make up to rent the car, it wasn't worth it. So I ended up giving the car back.
Okay.
And even one of the other reasons why I ended up doing that, because I did have a car and I was paying a note on it, but I did not want to use my car because that's a lot of wear and tear that I would have to figure in order for me to be able to drive. Okay. Plus, you got to consider if you're using your car for Lyft and Uber, you have to have an additional insurance for ride sharing. And ride sharing insurance can be very expensive, especially depending on the
I didn't see no ride sharing insurance in that man's chart.
Yeah, it wasn't even in there. And that was very telling. Like, I know that you mentioned about health insurance, but I was even thinking about you don't really even have all the information concerning what it's doing to your car and the information that you have to, and all the cost that comes with it, like the insurance. And I seriously doubt that he's only paying $30 out of his budget just for transportation. That doesn't make any sense. Gas alone, for one individual just going back and forth to work, $30 could be in a day, let alone a week or a month. That makes no sense.
Well, let me tell you.
So
let me ask you a question. When you were driving that rental car, I'm not saying it happened to you, but if you were driving that rental car, and you got to turn it back in, right? You got to turn it back in. I'm not doing it. I'm not driving no more. What would happen if, like, somebody who was sitting in the back seat of your car had just, like, burned it with a cigarette or something? Like, you wasn't back there, you didn't do it, but somebody did it.
Right.
So what happens when you turn it back in, or what would have happened?
So depending on the condition of the car, that may be a cost that comes out of the deposit that you put in for the car.
How much the deposit?
The deposit, I believe, I paid, I want to say about $300. Okay. For just the deposit of the car. And so, like, whatever type of thing that would have happened. And one of the other things that kind of would save you, though, is if a customer damaged your car, you have to report it right away. In order, so just in case, like, if something like happens, like you're using their car or you can't drive anymore, like, say, for instance, if you pick up a person and they happen to have too many libations and, they was, and, decide to get sick in your car, which happened to me one night, you have to report that as well. And therefore, whatever type of cleaning expense that would have to come out of your pocket. And that will come out of your pocket. They will end up reimbursing you, but you still have to make a case for that to transpire. So all those things you have to consider those things as well when you're driving for them.
Oh, that's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot for you.
And
that's
why
a lot. That's a hitchhiking is hard. Hitchhiking and picking up hitchhikers. That's basically what it is. And you know that's what they've got people doing. And I'm not like I want to make clear to everybody. My criticism isn't of like, oh my God, we're picking up hitchhikers. It's of like, this is the Obama world. The gig economy like sprouted up under Obama, and like I don't think we understand what that has done to like our ability like to earn a living and be able to pay insurance and everything that goes with it. So I appreciate you calling in to let us know about it, because I wouldn't, that's some interesting stuff.
Yeah, I just wanted to share that. And even one of the things that I'll share this and then I'll leave is that, even when I was going through this and I was trying to explain to my mom, because she was always asking me like, when I was your age, I was able to do this, 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 and this. And I said, that was when you were my age, and that was a totally different time, and we are in a totally different economy right now. And so the cost that I would have to accrue in order for me to do half of what you did means that I would have to be in a different era for that to even transpire.
Yeah.
So I'm very grateful that, you and Tone are doing, and giving us this content and really giving us this political education and really waking us up to, what type of life we're living in right now, because I think that a lot of us was under this veil, that all we had to do, like that young man just said, oh, well, I'll invest like most of my money, or I'll just do all this bootstrapping stuff, but really don't really understand that they're not okay. So I'm so grateful to you.
Thank you, fam. So I appreciate you calling in and telling us what it is, because, we need to know what it is, and those of us who don't know, we just don't know. And so I thank you for calling in and letting us know what it is. Thank you so much, fam. Going to my next caller, I am going to... I'm going to 617. 617, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, it's Mike from Brooklyn. I haven't called in a while.
What's going on, Mike? How you doing?
I'm good. I like the title of the show, Count the Cost.
Yeah.
It's crazy, especially at times like these with pandemic, job losses, everyone just trying to, maintain their living situations. It's crazy, and I think your message is so important.
Thank you, fam. I appreciate it.
And then another thing I think we should be concerned about, I thank you for making sure we're all rooted in our lineage and, our justice claim. But there are a lot of these people out there nowadays that they're trying to convince people to go to Africa, to run away, to, escape this social unrest and go to the motherland. And it seems appealing. It's almost as if you didn't know better, you would fall for it. But when you think about it, all the stories you told us, the articles, my Nigerian grandfather who was a slave trader, you just realize it's just another hustle. When I look back at it, there's 54 countries in the continent of Africa. 4 of them have already gone to, Middle Eastern factions, for example. Libya, Egypt, Madagascar, Sudan. So a lot of them are unstable, so it's like they're trying to make us go over there or convince us that it's there, but I see so many of them here in New York City. If it was so great, why are they here?
Well,
I think they replace us.
I think our...
you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I think we had an ally call in and tell the truth. This is the best place in the world for black people. People love to say, come here.
Exactly.
They just want to trade places with us. And you come here... and be here. No. You left. I don't want to come there. Your people are praying. Did y'all read that article from the BBC where people were praying? It talked about how Nigerians be praying to they go to see spiritual people so that they can make a way for them to come. Dude, hey, no. This is we are awful in the context of white wealth and the multi-generational oppression. That's what we're suffering through. I would not trade my place though. I don't want to be in Nigeria. I don't want to be in Congo. I don't want to be I can't think of any other place I would rather be than here. I just want my proper place here. That's different. You got to be careful. Exactly. I don't want to go nowhere else. I'm good. Exactly. Don't you take me. You have to drag me.
No, it's like you always say, our ancestors fought here, we have blood and bones here, and once you sell me, we're no longer family. So don't try to, invoke an emotional, aspirational attachment to a place that never claimed me. It's like this. It's like they say repatriation is a must, the Pan-Africanist. I would go there if I see all the, and full disclosure, I'm what you would consider African. My mother's ADOS. My father's from the Congo.
Okay.
But I know it would be time to go back if I saw all of them go back. When everyone's coming here for opportunity, for unearned benefits to stand in our place, then I know that, this is the place to be. I mean, like some of the people like espousing it, like Akon City, things like this. It's like the Mother Africa is a continent. It's like a woman who lost her children to CPS. So all her children ran out the house, but yet she's inviting new children to be adopted. It makes no sense. Like here, we fight, like you say, we fought in our square. We fight with one Anglo-Saxon person, a competitor, but who we want our rights here in America. You go to those 54 African countries, you're fighting the Dutch, the English, the French, the Germans, the Russians, the Chinese who are recolonizing it. Like you have to get your affairs in order. Do you have an FDA? Do you have an army? Air Force, your resources are being stolen for pennies on a dollar. So I think, like you say, it's the best place to be.
Yeah, and I don't.
Thank you for everything. And I don't want to listen.
I don't mean no disrespect to nobody, right? But I don't choose to be. I understand that if you have a bad situation in a country, I understand. I'm not talking about how these black Brits come over here. Y'all should fight. Y'all some cowards. I'm talking about how you have poverty or violence. I'm not saying I don't understand why you would move. I do. But for me, in America, why would I be in America and be anchored in here 400 years and go somewhere else to be an immigrant? Mm-hmm. I don't want to be an immigrant nowhere.
Exactly.
I mean, if I don't have to be. Some people feel like I have to do this for my family. And we should stop destabilizing countries to kind of create that kind of pull, where we brain drain all these other countries. But I don't want to be that. I don't want to go somewhere and be unanchored and kind of pulled up and uprooted. No. I don't want to do that. That's not what I want to do. So, thank you, fam. But you're right. You ain't lying.
No, of course, because most of the countries they're offering tourist visas, but they're not offering citizenship, the right to work, the right to vote. And do I have my Second Amendment rights there? I don't know if I feel comfortable going to a place where I can't protect myself. Every now and then you want to ethnically cleanse the other tribe. Right now in South Africa, you have South Africans calling Nigerians foreigners, killing them because they were successful businessmen. Meanwhile, you have Chinese and other people taking resources out of your country. They have police stations, Chinese police stations in Africa. Yet you want me to come there where it's not stable. It's like there's this Bible verse where Joseph, whose brother sold him into Egypt, he goes there and the Pharaoh knew him, and after he interpreted the dream, then his people settled there. It was peaceful, and then they said a new Pharaoh came and knew not Joseph and his people, and then he instituted slavery against the Israelites at that time. Same thing in Africa. It's unstable. A new president come, a prior president could invite you. A new president could say, let's get them out of here.
Yes, and
if there's an election change, it's
that means you unstable. You have no continuity. The one thing we might be concerned about with this next election, right, is that there might not be continuity. What has happened typically is that transfers of power are pretty stable. There are a lot of places where that's not the case. I don't want to be there. I don't want to be there fighting nobody, whether I like who got elected or not. I like to know, we might not know this year, but I like to know that person is going to hand over power, and I don't want to see nobody running into the White House. I don't want to see none of that. And people don't understand the value of stability. And even white America, who doesn't like us and say, well, we fought the civil war for you, they know that there was a debt owed. They just try to lie and say, we already paid it. We paid it in blood. I don't want to be nowhere where nobody's like, we don't owe the debt. No. Y'all can keep that. I'm staying here. It's good. We'll be fine. So thank you, fam. I appreciate it. It's some wild times. Of
course, anytime. You have a good one.
Thank you, fam. I appreciate it. I appreciate you. I'm going to 310. What's going on?
What up, Yvette?
What's going on?
So can we pull up that budget one more time? And then also I sent you one last image to put in though.
The budget made my head hurt, but okay.
Yeah, I sent you that.
Jerome's budget.
The trillion. Yeah, Jerome's budget. But I think you can charge in the trillions and the
Got
HR
it.
thing to end up. So you know it's a look. The first caller, I commend black folks finally calling in and being honest about actually shrinking so we can see both budgets. I commend the caller calling in and being honest about all of her realities of what she was going through. And I think one of the things that's interesting to me is that even inside of that, we're in the midst of one of the largest wealth inequality movements in a long time in modern history in the middle of this country. And I think a lot of people can't see the expressions of that. You know, Obama created this gig economy. I'm of the belief that had Trump created a gig economy of this sort, it would be blasted everywhere. It's like everybody doesn't really understand what Obama did, allowing this to happen. And then they celebrate him despite his destruction of our wealth, black people's wealth, homeowners, but black people in particular. But like the interesting thing about this whole Uber thing is, and we've talked about it before, I just want to make sure everybody understands that some people might not remember or some people might not have been here. You're not paid to drive Uber. They're letting you use a drive to extract the value out of your car. So let's look at the two models. The first model is that you use your own vehicle. So you're pulling out the depreciation and the processing fee to pull out that depreciation and you to drive somebody that you don't know around. Uber is only that service to facilitate that transaction, and then they get a fee for that. I think that because of the structure of it, where they write you a check and then you check in, it feels like a boss relationship, but they have no responsibility in the structure, the way it's set up. In addition, they're not paying you to actually drive. They're just processing you, destroying your own vehicle. And in the case of somebody who rents a vehicle at $200 a month, understand what we're saying. We're saying that someone is renting what might be like a Hyundai Elantra or something of that sort for $800 a month. A car that might be, when you go to the dealership, $300 a month to lease or something like that. Understand the crazy. And then also I would go a step further and even point out, I mean, she said they give you a $300 deposit. If you put a hole through a seat in the back seat, that's not $300. So all of a sudden now you're just selling your exposure to Uber, your willingness to take on risk. And you don't find that out till you get burnt by that risk. I remember one Thanksgiving, it was a young black dude who got shot. And I'm just saying, who got shot while he was driving Uber. Literally, it was his second Uber driving. I believe he got shot trying to drop somebody off somewhere. Now, I'm saying all this because I look at this budget, and I think that one of the things that jumps out of the page is this is not an adult budget. This is the budget of somebody that's a teenager. And the man is 23 years old. And what's going to happen as a result of wealth inequality is this budget will never change. It won't change when he gets married. It won't change when he has a child. It won't change as he ages. This is his budget. And the reason why we know that is because this is other people's budget. They ain't 23. I mean, a lot of y'all might be listening right now, and I commend you for listening, but you're 30 years old, and this is still your budget. And and you might get there a number of ways. Let me explain. Watch this, Yvette. You might get there because you actually make 35 or 40, but you get garnished for your child support. So you right back here at 19. You might get there because you pay student loans. You paying $1,000 a month in student loans, staying on top of your bills as you should. But in actuality, when you take out the student loans, you right here at $1,200 again. They're gonna get everybody right back here to this $1,200. But the white man is over here at 27. And don't forget, we don't see the gifts in there. What we don't see in his budget is the gifts from parents. We don't see the non-mentioned transfers of wealth. Understand, there is no mention in his story when you read the actual white guy's article of taking a bath out of a tub of water that you preserve because everybody's water got cut off. So what we don't see is him getting the inheritance of $600,000 or him calling grandma because he's short or whatever else he did to get through this COVID as an example. Well, the last thing I'm going to say about this budget is it's too tight. It don't make a lot of sense, like Yvette said. 15, he's making, when you take out the taxes, he's making $1,500 a month. His budget is 13. Somebody might say, well, that's close enough. budgets don't work. Nah, it's too tight. This don't make sense. So that means sometimes he got it, sometimes he don't. In addition, I don't think, he talked about saving money. It sounds like what he do, Yvette, is sometimes he sleep in his car and he takes the 800 and then he count it as net worth. That's not net worth, though. You just left in your car this month. And I'm saying all this because I think framing like the reality of our situation, and I think I sent you the chart with the 100 trillion. We just got to bring it back to this because I want everybody to understand that the caller at the end, the first caller, the female, she said something about what her mother said. And I commend her mother for talking to her daughter. But in a lot of ways, it's much worse than what she even said to her mother about the gap between them. And I come back to it. Understand, from slavery until 1980, white people only got to 11 trillion. That's what for the chart. 1980, that blue line is at 11 trillion from slavery until then. What white people did is they inverted everything. So they're going to give us all the ability to go to any water fountain, to go to any beach. But then they're going to inflate their assets. So they got new boundary lines through money. So all of a sudden they just start doing this whole new model where it's all through the money and the assets. And they inflate it where they're at 100 trillion over the course of our life, our single life. America's around, we look at 76, we look at all the way forward to 1980, 11 trillion. From 1980, like most of us are born into, to present, we're at 100 trillion. And I say that because that kind of wealth inequality has consequence. And we're not stabilizing at 100 trillion. We're going up. So you see that with Bezos. You see that with the stock, the way stocks did over the COVID. So what is it? Do we all understand that even the life that we're seeing is not even a stable like reality, a life that we just saw in contrast between those two? What it means next for all of us, and are you really adjusting and being honest with yourself about the conversations you need to have, not only with your family, meaning your brother, your sister, your child, your mother, but also with yourself. Because I come back to that vacation, and I think Yvette, she hit on it, but it's so important. Effectively, what you're doing is trading in your peace of mind today for the possibility of a peace of mind tomorrow. The rationale on that doesn't really have an anchoring in terms of why. I mean, and I'm talking about the kind of stuff where you're putting yourself and driving around at 3 a.m, not even like some extra stuff just at work with the extra hour at lunch you have or something like that. I just kind of wanted to hit on this because I don't think we're really grasping at this wealth. I did a couple tweets on this. You can go check my Twitter. This wealth, what's funny, Yvette, is I actually tweeted about this guy before his story came out. I put a tweet out yesterday. You remember I put a tweet out yesterday, actually 2 days ago, and I said what's exactly in his story. I said I'm actually gonna read that one tweet. Then I'm gonna come to the last thing. Hold on. And it was funny because a lot of people shared that tweet. Then his story came out. I said our race faces $100 trillion wealth gap that will express itself in the coming years. The gravity of the consequence of that kind of wealth inequality is beyond many of our people. It is lift, it is hunger, it is instability. We have built lives of cost on top of sandcastles. And I tweeted that, I think, yesterday before I even read his article. And his life ain't nothing but a sandcastle. And he's sitting around talking about moneyology, and he's not counting taxes. I'll tell you, he work at a tax place, and I would bet he don't pay his taxes regularly. He's not counting depreciation on a vehicle. He's definitely not counting student debt. So he sees student debt, a $30,000 chunk, separate from net worth. So he don't want to tell us that actually you negative. As black people now, ADOS people are designed to be negative and structured that way. That's why reparations is imperative when you have $100 trillion wealth gap. So that white counterpart is about to get a massive transfer, and I don't think everybody grasps that. Now, the last thing I'm going to say is, and I want you to pull up the ACON article. One of the things that I think me and Yvette are running up against, and I want everybody to kind of see this, is we are expected to speak in rational terms and contrasted to magic. I did a whole ACON video. Thank you guys for watching that. I think it's at like 30,000 views. Hopefully it keeps growing because this guy didn't make no sense. He doesn't make no sense. Senegal, don't nobody. That's not a rendering. What he showed you guys is not a real rendering of a city. That's not the way you do renderings. Renderings tend to look more like what we see over here. And I'm talking about there's no specificity of what any of those buildings are. That's actually trash. And so I say all that in the sense of one other thing you see is the number. And I'll come to the number. This is where I'll end here, Yvette.
Mm-hmm.
We can't be expected to speak from reality while he can talk about magic. What do I mean? Because you believe look, most of y'all will never go to Africa. Even though you call yourself African. It's the weirdest thing, man. But like on top of it, because you never went there, you don't know how stupid it is what he's talking about. So this is a Muslim country, I believe. And they about to do a party city. Okay, we're going to put that to the side. He's going to build with $6 billion, but only $5 billion built one stadium in Los Angeles. He's going to build a whole city with $6 billion in Senegal during COVID for tourism. So what I'm saying is when we say reparations and we say America, I got to deal with Vlad or somebody else saying America is unreasonable. This is America, the wealthiest country in the world. In less than 2 weeks, they came up with $2 trillion for COVID bills, and we are being told what we doing is we're talking about is unreasonable in America on a debt. But this man can tell you that he gonna build a city for what it costs one stadium to build in Africa for COVID for tourism in a Muslim country. I just need some rationale in how you got, and also he don't know nothing. He's just a rapper. He's not even like a city designer that did it all across Africa. He did it in like 4 other places, and this is his 5th time. Antonio, he did it before. So this is what, I need you to understand that you cannot hide your fantasy in Africa. You cannot hide all your insecurities in Uber. You cannot make up what is coming next. Either you get honest or get honest with you. You cannot have a heart problem and not have no medical coverage. You can't build a city and what it costs to build one stadium. I need all of that to get real because we can't move forward if we're expected to be real in a world of magic. I'll leave it at that.
Appreciate it, Tom. Somebody said, what's wrong with y'all? Somebody said, why is the city melting? You know, it's true though. And it's not a rendering. Antonio's right, but like that wouldn't even make sense given the heat and the construct and the climate and the part of Africa where he is in Senegal where he's trying to build. It's just he's a dodo bird and he's just trying to grab some cash and be the face man for some dumb stuff, and it don't make no sense. And won't nobody call him on it but us. Anyway, let me go to the next call, fam. I'm going to 269. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Yeah, this is Dale. I'm calling from Birmingham, Alabama. Thanks for taking my call. Hey, well, first and foremost, I just bought a ADOS T-shirt from you today.
Thank you.
And and I subscribe to your newsletter.
Great.
But that Uber situation, it brought me back. I had a painful flashback. I was driving for Uber in Detroit, got in an accident, and found out something interesting. There was a $2,000 deductible on that insurance that I was under. Okay, and after everything was said and done, I had a passenger in the car, so Uber paid one half of that deductible, and then the leasing company held me up for the other $1,000. So since I didn't have $1,000, I was out of the car, and basically, I was out of business, and I was paying $225 a month for a Chevy Malibu at that time. Fast forward to down here in Birmingham, got on with a car dealership making little or nothing, and oddly enough, my credit score went from the low 500s up to 670, and so my GM told me. And as a result, I qualified to get financed for a Hyundai Elantra, $388 a month, additional $188 a month for insurance. And I'm saying, well, that's going to be a heck of a nut based off what I'm making. So, you could go ahead and drive for Uber and Lyft and, make up the difference, right? And since I was, in a position where I absolutely needed transportation, I had to go with the program, So that ended up eventually that car going into repossession because in between jobs, I didn't have the means to go ahead and pay. Well, finally get out on another car dealership. Get furloughed after going through 2 months of the training program due to this pandemic virus. So I had to sit back and kind of do a reevaluation of, what I wanted to do because I figured the world was changing now. So that's when I went ahead and revisited an idea of going ahead and putting together this radio station. So I looked at the cost, I looked at the ongoing expenses and the fixed cost of it. And I said, well, okay, I'm getting this COVID money. With the period of time that they gave me, initially, I figured, well, I might be able to go ahead and pull this off. And I figured, well, I looked at it this way. If the economy opened up again and I was able to get into a car dealership and sell cars, at least I would have a station with listeners that could possibly entice to go, hey, come buy a car from me. So I went ahead and followed through on it. I found out how expensive it is, what some of your expenses are just to have a system in to be able to accept phone calls.
Yeah.
To go ahead, the technology to make that happen.
Yeah.
Like 3 cents a minute. How many lines? I'm not going to ask you how many lines.
Yeah, you get to pick how many lines. Yeah, people wonder why it be busy because every line costs.
But while people, I
said people wonder why it's busy when they call because every line costs. Every minute, every line costs. Yeah.
Exactly, and that's what I'm facing too. I went ahead and dropped money for a mixer so that I could go ahead and do this in podcast along with another cell phone, so I can go ahead and get signed on to that, to this service. To be able to accept phone calls and to do live talk shows or whatnot. But you know what? I'm extremely happy. Haven't been more happier in my life because if I had been doing nothing but sitting here, looking at TV and eating and staying in an apartment, I'd be banging my head up against the walls, So I'm still moving forward with this. The station is on. The music is on. I'm going to introduce, I'd say in about 2 weeks, talk radio. As far as talk shows and whatnot, and I'm still moving forward on this, and I've been able to save enough money so that when this COVID money finally ends, which I really don't think is, at least by what Fauci was saying, this thing may be going on to the end of 2021.
2021,
okay?
2021
and,
at least. 2021.
Some people may feel bad about that. But I'm going to milk this COVID money as long as I can, save as much money as I can, and go ahead and put it in this station and put this out here. Because like with
I appreciate you, family.
With Benjamin Franklin. I know you got to go.
We can't go into Benjamin, but I appreciate you calling in. We can't go into BJ, but yeah, it's a lot of stuff. You got to get mixes and all kinds of things. It costs monies. And you're going to have to upgrade them too. It's a lot. Anyway, fam, let me go to the next call. Stop being silly because we got to get out of here in a minute. 973-973, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, how you doing, Yvette?
Pretty good.
I'm calling out of Newark, New Jersey.
What's going on with you?
So, due to the fact that you guys, the show is about the guy's budget or whatever. So I'm in the largest city in New Jersey, one of the wealthiest states in America. And it's a predominantly African American city. The average income in the city is $16,000 a year. The cost of living, just for rent.
Yeah.
I'm 40. I'm a father. So let's say I need a 2-bedroom apartment, $1,500-$1,600 easy a month. Now, once you add in all these other expenditures that go with living life, and you look at what's around, and the number is low like that based upon the African American community that's in North New Jersey, because we are the ones that are experiencing the poverty. So I don't know what that number really. It gets crazy when you start thinking about it. So it's just like even in these cities, these so-called progressive cities that's in America, these so-called progressive black cities, you still have a level of poverty that is blanketed. You know, this is one of the most. Has been historically in American history one of the most balanced cities in America, and it's always been run by a Democratic government. Not to say that Republicans or whatever. I don't believe that the voting system has. I haven't seen it help me. So just a reality check that like the poverty that is experienced for blacks in America, African Americans specifically, Adolf's is I don't think people. I think people are walking around with blinders, just like, all right, it's going to get better. It's going to get better. I don't think that they, when I talk to my friends, they, oh well, I'm doing this and I'm doing, and I'm looking at the reality, and it's like, no, everybody poor. No,
yeah, absolutely, everybody poor. You're right, caller. I'm gonna let you go to get to another call, but you're right. That's the reality of how we live, and you're right about it. And I just want to say too, nobody ever considers the cost, and it's interesting that last caller brought up like doing what I do here, right, in terms of broadcasting, YouTube live podcasting, and like having a mixer. The other cost that people don't add in is if I'm not a technical person in terms of I don't take computers together, I don't network, I don't plug stuff into stuff, I don't really get into that. What people don't take into the cost of that either, if that's something that you want to do, is that if you're not a person who does that, if you're not a hobbyist of that, what happens also is this. If you want somebody to do a house call and take care of your technical needs for live casting, they charge $180 an hour. And they ain't rushing. And they sometimes have to go to Best Buy and pick up a cord or all kinds. So those are costs you have to take into account, right? Right. Sometimes they're there 2 days. And so I didn't get it finished today. You was here 9 o'clock to 4 o'clock and you coming back tomorrow and you charging $180. That's the price of America. That's the price for a house call to come and fix your tech. It just is what it is. And I don't think people even understand like how many times I say I got to get this fixed. It's not a lot. It's a handful. But like if I can't get it fixed myself and I can't get it fixed with the person on the phone, if it's a hardware problem, somebody got to come out. And like I don't think people even take that expense into account when they say, oh, I want to do XYZ. Yeah, and pretty soon, like I'm going to come into, well, some of this stuff is going to have to be swapped out, right? And those are expenses. So it's a lot of stuff when we count stuff, unless you're going to just do it through StreamYard or something like that, that's something you have to take into account is the house calls. And if you have a mixer and everything is hooked up, the house call is going to happen. So let me go to the next call. I am going now to 785. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, Yvette, this is Joan from Kansas.
What's going on? How you doing?
Well, I'm not doing too hot tonight because my cat got hit by a car yesterday.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did he survive?
No.
Oh, I had a dog like that. I had a dog that got hit by a car one time. So I'm sorry to hear that. I had a dog that got hit by a car that survived either. So I know what that's like.
Yeah, it's not fun.
No.
Thanks for taking my call.
No problem.
I just wanted to call in and with another pointer for little Jerome.
Mm-hmm.
He is not thinking about the cost of ADOS at all.
Mm.
And by that I mean there's a hidden tax, and this goes for all of it. There's a hidden tax attached to every single one of us just for being ADOS.
Yeah.
Let me give you an example. There are corporations now that are pulling these little neighborhood grocery stores out.
Mm.
So you've got food deserts. And people are having to drive further. That's more gas, more, wear and tear on your car and that sort of thing, just to pick up groceries every week. If and when he gets some medical coverage, he's going to pay a higher premium just for being Adolf. His car insurance is going to be higher just for being Adolf.
Mm.
Now, he's got a heart condition, and just say, he has an episode that doesn't, actually kill him, but he gets disabled.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if people think, being on disability is like a gift or something every month. But I want to tell you a little bit of my personal experience. I was one of those people that, was told to work hard, get a degree, and, and get into corporate America or whatever. So I was on that track. Then I got disabled. And what they do is they take your quarter, each month or yearly quarter, they take an average of your income, and then they have some kind of formulary that they use. Divide that by the quarter, those months, and that'll be your monthly income. So right now, because when I was going to school and got disabled, I was working part-time jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Just low-paying, everyday jobs. Just, just making about what Jerome's making. But when I applied for disability, first place it took me 5 years to get it. That's part of that ADOS tax. And by the time I got it, I was making $427 a month.
What?
Yes, $427 a month. That's from, just low-paying jobs. And I've been working since I started junior high. Anyway, right now, today, I am 67 years old. And my monthly income is $1,084. And I just got a $20 raise. And I'm saying this to say, these do-for-selfers don't realize, Jerome's walking around talking about how he's okay. He's nowhere near okay.
Mm-mm.
Not even, he can't even see okay from where he is.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to bring that in, that, that's a cost that we all pay, that you can't, it's not a dollar cost that comes out. I mean, it is a dollar cost, but it doesn't show up, like on a invoice or something.
Yeah, absolutely.
But just the cost, the cost of being ADOS is something we need to have to think about factoring in when we're doing these little budgets and talking about savings and.
Yeah, the penalty. The penalty for being black. ADOS in our case. You're right, fam. I want to thank you for calling in and yeah. Losing a pet is hard too. You have to get another one sometime. I'm about to get you another little kitty cat. So the pet's a good companion. So I'm all for it.
I just wanted the family to know that.
No, I appreciate it, fam. Thank you so much for calling in. Thank you so much for calling in. Pets are such wonderful little critters to have around. You need some quality of life. And so if she lost hers, sometimes it's just too soon. You can't even think about, you don't want to replace the little kitty cat or a little puppy dog. But sometimes that's what you have to do. It's awful that y'all think about that. When I hate that he got hit by a car, that's such a gruesome thing to happen. So our hearts go out to you, ma'am, because that's horrible for those of us who around here like myself who are pet lovers and who love the pets. That's horrible. I hate to hear that. That's awful. Anyway, I'm going to my next call, fam. 407. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, Yvette, it's Zarina. So
hey, Zarina.
I have to call in with some housing stuff. Hey, y'all. Hey, everybody in chat. So I'm going to be quick because, Kunta going to cuss at me. So before I got into housing and all this other stuff, actually in high school, I took graphic design, and so I kind of noticed certain things and certain messages that are conveyed. And just really quick before I get into what I'm going to talk about, if you put those two charts side by side, one thing that you'll notice is, first of all, like just to the naked eye, they're two different colors. But if you look deeper into Jerome's chart, you see like there's really nothing there. And to emphasize that there's nothing there in terms of his life and in terms of his ambition, his chart is like hollow. It's a donut chart, whereas the other guy's chart is completely full. He's got a background of like books and education, and he's even got like a little stethoscope on the side. They really took a lot of time to kind of design his, and they threw Jerome's together. So without even knowing anything else, you already kind of can see how they're conveying these two different people. So that's just an aside. But what I wanted to talk about, because I know a lot of people kind of missed this information, from the conference and, all that other stuff, is that in terms of housing, right, which is what I get into a lot, 30% of your income or your debt service, 30% going towards rent or going towards your housing is considered cost burden, meaning at that point when you're spending about 30% or more, your increase of like being homeless starts to really tick up. But it gets so bad when you get to 50% that they even redefined it. So you go from being cost burden at 30% of your income to by the time you're spending 50% of your debt service to housing, your chances of homelessness go up astronomically. And they basically categorize you as severely cost burden. And in that category, it's not a matter of if you'll go homeless, it's a matter of when you'll go homeless. And before the pandemic, about 47% of people were cost burden. So I don't even know the numbers now because the numbers constantly are changing. The man Jerome, who says he's fine and is couch surfing with his brother or something, because I haven't seen the article, he's spending 64% of his income or his debt service is on rent. That's it. 64%. So he's not only severe, but he's 14 points above severe.
Wow.
Okay? So, yeah, when Antonio was like, you probably live in his car, that's probably true. So one thing I want to say before I wrap this up is to anyone who's sort of listening and is like, there's a thing with ADOS and really kind of all black people. There's like this pride thing, right? I'm not gonna have, be on a family plan, I'm gonna pay my own bill or whatever the case might be. And there's a lot of that kind of going into the pandemic, but now we're like 6-7 months into it. And at this point, if you are in a position where you can consolidate bills and or move in with your family because you just can't make it, there is absolutely no shame in doing so. So if you needed like a green light or just somebody to say like, it's okay, I'm calling in to tell you like, that's okay. And no one's going to, at least nobody here, is going to shame you if you have to move in. And let me tell you who just moved in with their dad and their parents is Denzel Washington's son. Moved back in with his parents during the pandemic. So if Denzel Washington's son can move back in and start doing chores, you're perfectly fine. Nobody's going to shame you. This is a very, very incompetent government that we have. And right before what I'm calling like the beginning of the eviction crisis, because they put a halt to it, in July and August, they were looking at about 20 to 23 million people that were going to be put out. And Maxine Waters sort of led this charge where she came up with a bill to try to stop it, to try to say, like, hey, we have to put something in place because this is 20 million people. Now, to give you guys some context, the number of people per year, when everybody last year was like, rent's too high, the number of people per year who got evicted was about 2.8. In September alone, they were looking at 20 million. Just to give you some perspective on how bad this is going to be. And the government couldn't get the bill passed. What happened was September came, the moratoriums on evictions lifted, and people started getting kicked out left and right. There was newscastings and articles and all this stuff about people putting out on the street, their mattresses are on the sidewalk, all that. And what happened is now they've pushed back evictions to December. But it wasn't necessarily the government that did that. It was the CDC. And you have to kind of understand one thing, and I'm going to let you go. One thing that you have to understand is that for the CDC themselves to do it, to push out evictions and say, no, we can't do this.
Mm-hmm.
Let you know that in a pandemic, housing instability and homelessness is considered a pre-existing condition. And that's all I got.
Thank you, Zarina. I appreciate it.
Good night, fam.
It's a pre-existing condition. Yeah. It's a pre-existing condition. It's a pre-existing condition for a lot of stuff, not just the COVID, but it's a lot of stuff. Thank you, Zarina. I appreciate that. I do appreciate that. Woo-hee. And listen, I told y'all that a long time ago. It's, you know, we in the pandemic now, and it is what it is now. But I told y'all that a long time ago. Don't you let nobody shame you for the lineage and the stuff you come from. Now, that don't mean you don't get up every morning and do your best, whatever you're doing, whatever kind of endeavor you're doing, whatever kind of work you're doing. That don't mean you don't put your best foot forward. And nobody telling you to be no slouch. I would never tell you to be a slouch. No, you put in 110 because that's what it is. But don't let nobody be shaming you, especially in the midst of a pandemic, and you still gonna let somebody shame you for what? I agree wholeheartedly. Anyway, fam, that is going to be it, because unfortunately we are at the two-hour mark. You know, our next show I'll try to take more. I say it every time, but people talk. The next show I'm gonna try to take more calls, fam. I'm gonna try to end it a little bit early and take some more calls. I did that one time, like I didn't. And so we can get down to the nitty and the gritty. I think that's a good call to end it on. That's what it is, fam. I mean, it's just, woo. That's where we at. And we have to make rational decisions, not the decisions to floss or what somebody else might like or what they might think. No, we have to make rational decisions that are good for ourselves. And this is a pandemic. These are unprecedented times, fam. So you have to keep that into consideration. Please do not forget, on the 24th, we will be having the book club. Cass, Isabella Wilkerson, whatever. We're going to read the book. I still got to start the book, but I'm going to have the book finished by the time the notes and stuff by the time we had the conversation. Don't you worry yourself none. Don't let not one hair in your head be bothered. If you want to donate brown.com, patreon.com/ycarnell, $, breakingbrown, the what is it? Whatever you call it, the new stuff to do, the cash app the kids do. Anyway, do all of that, but the most important thing is to hit that like button for me. Make sure cost you no money to hit the like button, cost you no money to actually hit the subscribe button or hit the bell if you have not hit the bell. Share it on your pages. All that stuff costs you nothing. A perfectly free way to support the channel, and I would appreciate it if you would do that. So I will see you next time, fam. Keep it easy breezy. Finish your libation. Get to bed, because tomorrow is a new day.